Welcome to another episode of Progress, Potential, and Possibilities, discussions with fascinating people designing a better tomorrow for all of us. I'm your host, Ira Pastor.
Welcome everybody again to another episode of our show, bringing you another really great guest today who's helping to create a better tomorrow. Today we have the honor of being joined by Dr. Chris Zaino, who is a world-renowned speaker, author. He's an entrepreneur. He's a former Mr. America, Mr. Universe, and IFBB Pro Bodybuilder. After starting his career, but defying a deadly terminal disease in his late 20s, he went on to study exercise physiology and wellness at the University of Central Florida, and ultimately decided to leverage his experiences and go and get his doctorate and develop one of the largest wellness clinics in the world, Abundant Life Chiropractic, ultimately seeing thousands of patients weekly. He also, along that path, served as the official doctor of World USA Olympic Judo, wrestling, and weightlifting teams, as well as a variety of other sports teams. He was involved in the creation of the I Am Hero project, a fascinating project to help resurrect heroes in all of us from the complacency of our secret identities, allowing us to live heroic lives once again. And he has a multi-step methodology called Hero Rises, which we'll be getting into. And recently, he has become quite instrumental and influential in the area of regenerative medicine and regenerative medicine's connection to chiropractic, focusing on aspects of male vitality. A lot of really interesting topics we're going to be getting into today. We're excited to have him. Dr. Chris Zaino, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I love doing shows that have all these intersecting themes, Chris. And I'd love to start off. It's funny. I was reading. I spent a lot of time reading about you, and one of the things I ran into was you were doing another interview, and you were talking about how while a lot of us, not that I'm a pro bodybuilder ever, but a lot of us, I grew up in the '60s and '70s, and when I was lifting weights, I looked at the Arnolds and Lou Ferrigno and Franco Columbu and names like that. None of those were your inspiration. Your inspiration was your father, and I'd love to sort of hear that early story, a little bit about your father, where you grew up, and a little bit about just how you got into bodybuilding to begin with. I think that'd be a great way to start things off.
Awesome. So I grew up in Long Island, New York. I was born in Massapequa, actually Bensonhurst, and then moved to Massapequa. My family did. So my dad had me both my parents had me at a very older age. My mom was 39. My dad was 47. So I was raised like an only child. It was a Brady Bunch thing. They had previous marriages, but they were like my uncles and cousins. It didn't really have that. So I was like an only child. So my dad was super wise. I got a wise father at that time at 47. He might have died at 68 of cancer when I was 21. But I just wanted to be like my dad. He was built. He had a good physique. He's very creative. He never graduated. Both my parents never graduated high school, but they were creators. They were artists in their own way. They created their own businesses. They worked hard, and they provided an amazing life. And it was just always great to see the dynamics of my mom and dad work together. So I just want to always be like my dad. And when we moved to Florida, like all New Yorkers do, when they want to move somewhere, so we moved from New York to Florida to Sarasota, Florida. My parents built a house. My dad's like, I'll put this gym in your room. So he got me this little universal, like with weight stack, a bench, those pull down. And I was about 12 or 13. I started training. And in that time, in any person's life, male or female. Like it's influential. So I started getting attention because my body was responding pretty well. And if you're getting attention, positive attention
Yeah.
at that age, just, I am going to go all in. So I went all in on that. And that's where the whole bodybuilding thing started. Just reading magazines because there was no internet. So you would have to wait a month for an issue of Iron Man to come out, or, to see what you could do. And it was really great. And just the positive effect it had. It definitely, though, Ira, it kept me out of so much trouble. Well, there's two things that, there's two topics we could talk about. Being so involved into fitness and bodybuilding and knowing what it'd take, it kept me out of trouble in high school. It
Sure.
kept me out of trouble in college. I mean, I remember I used to pour out beer and fill it with water. And when I went to like college parties, so I never drank because, I didn't want it to affect with protein synthesis and everything like that.
Sure.
Also, what it did, the discipline of that, because I did a lot of competitive things, either piano when I was little. So the competitiveness gave you a sense of discipline where I almost like, just think in your teenage years and early 20s, like most men were driven by sex, right? That
Yep.
whole sex drive was through the roof. And even though I had it, I was able to sexually transmutate it and put that energy into whether it be bodybuilding goals, something creative, something creative. So that also kept me out of a lot of freaking trouble, in the thing. So you combine those two together, and it really got me through those years of potentially making some ridiculous mistakes, but I still had a lot of fun. It just, I was able to start having, delayed gratification, or able to choose something that was going to support my goal in future versus doing something that could potentially be reckless and just spin my wheels. So that was bodybuilding. I think I did my first show at 17. I did an open show, got second, which was the greatest thing ever because you don't want to win the first time, but that second kept me hungry. Then I started winning overalls at a young age. 21 won Mr. America in 1998. Then I got sick. We could talk about that. I got ulcerative colitis, and they said they were going to take out my colon, but that got me on my beautiful. It was the greatest gift I ever had in my life. It put me on a journey to wellness. And then in 2016, at the age of 36, I'm like, let me still see if I still got it. And I went back into bodybuilding, won the universe, got my pro card, did one pro show, called it a day. So that was it.
Outstanding. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And just a couple of notes in there. I also have older. I was birthed by older parents as well, so I
Yeah.
think we both have pretty decent genes there, and telomeres and all that. That our parents were able to do that. But no, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. It's interesting because I one of my best buddies also had ulcerative colitis, has ulcerative colitis currently, and I come out of the pharmaceutical industry, and I saw this guy go through everything, right? He went through the biologics. He went through these chemotherapy drugs. He actually went overseas and got these weird worms inserted in places. And, it really tore him apart. And I'm looking at you, on one hand, you're a pro bodybuilder, but ulcerative colitis, I can't think of many other conditions that is a body destroyer, breaking you down. And it broke him down on so many fronts. He wasn't a bodybuilder, but he was a big guy. And, it really tore him apart. Talk a little bit about your experience with ulcerative colitis, if you would, and a little bit about what that made you realize, and then we'll get into the chiropractic story in a bit, but talk a little about your experience.
Well, yeah, it all comes together. No, I know exactly what you're talking about because here I looked a certain way, I felt a certain way. I was, at the time, I was the personal trainer for Universal Studios. We were working on the Xena Warrior Princess set.
Yep.
And, we would go from Orlando to New Zealand and film, and I kept them all looking a certain way. So I had all these titles, cover magazines, and sitting back, like, when it came to eating a certain way, I ate great. When it came, I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs. Just think that was a perfect thing because that whole bodybuilding thing kept me away from those things. So
Yep.
I didn't drink at all, no alcohol, nothing. Did my cardio, did everything you would consider, or everyone would consider an amazing, healthy life. And I looked that certain way. So my idea of health at the time was, well, I look good. I'm healthy. Then I just noticed I started going to the bathroom more and more and more. Then it was becoming loose. Then I started seeing blood. And in your 20s, you just think you could do something called disassociation. It'll go away. No, it
Yep.
just kept on getting worse. Go to the bathroom 16, 17 times a day. Now it's nothing but blood. Then fast forward now, the day I knew there was an issue was I was at a TJ Maxx and like one of those department stores, and I was like,
Mhm.
it was control. This physical issue started becoming an emotional issue, a mental issue, because everywhere I went, is there a bathroom, where's the bathroom, or I would stop eating at a certain time in case it was going to go through me. So it really starts to become this an emotional thing. And then I went back to the bathrooms and they were under construction. I'm like, where's the bathroom? Like, well, we're under construction. Go outside next door to the Sports Authority. And just the anxiety of knowing that I did not have the crutch of a bathroom just in case. I wound up I lost my bowels for the first time in public, and it was brutal. It was brutal for me. It was brutal for the people because we're not talking like losing your bowels in your jeans. I mean, it's blood, it's mucus, it's horrible. So that was probably my rock bottom moment. But then it started. Then after the first time you do that, it becomes very easy to keep on doing it. So it really was becoming an issue. But that's when I said, listen, I got to see what's going on. That's when I got diagnosed with it. And I did the prednisone, I did the Remicade, I did all the stuff,
Yep.
the organ rejection medications. Nothing's working. Now talk about tearing you down. So what was it? So that was where the Hero Project. We have our identity in something. A
Yep.
lot of time our identity is in our job. Like I remember when we were little, people used to ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we were kids. Like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be this stuff. But now as human beings, when I talk to you, I'm like, well, what do you do for a living? So our identity is in the doing.
Yep.
It's not in the vision. And so my whole identity was how I looked, right? I mean, I was this bodybuilder, Mr. America, and you get ulcerative colitis, it literally stripped me of everything. I went from 230 to 158 pounds in about
Yep.
3.5 months. Nothing's working. Now, all the drugs aren't working. They're doing the best they can, but now they're like, listen, we got to remove the colon. You'll have a colostomy bag because what happened. It was going from the large intestines colitis, small intestines Crohn's disease.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was splashing now into the small intestine. So I got something called Crohn's colitis, and the issue with Crohn's is in the small intestine. Now they're like you'll literally starve to death because you won't absorb anything. So I was set for about a week and a half later to get the colon removed. And then my mom sent out that prayer email. It's my mom. And so my anatomy teacher from 10th grade, he just emails, he's like, listen, when Chris is in town, because I went to see her in Florida, he's like, I want to meet with him. And so he met with me and he's like, listen, I want you to go see my doctor. He's a corrective care chiropractor. It'll change your life. And I'm coming from I'm like, I thought that was the craziest witchcraft thing I ever heard in my life. Cause I had this incurable terminal visceral like organ disease illness. What's a massage going to do? Right. And then it was basically just, he's like, and I said, listen, thank you. I go, but I tried everything. And I didn't realize that I was a victim. I believed I tried everything. And then he said something very simple. He wasn't a scholar. He says, listen, if you tried everything, you would have had your result. I was like, oh my God, he's right. Right. So that was just enough to crack the door open and say, okay, I'll give this a shot. So I went to see this chiropractor. He talked about the nervous system, but it was very like, Dr. Zeus stuff. He's like, does the brain control everything? Yes. How's it get life to the organs? To the spinal cord and nerve tissue. Yeah, it's the control center. So if there's any damage in that, it would decrease in any area of the spine. It would decrease function, quality or quantity of nerve impulses to an organ, cell, or tissue, causing it to function poorly. And that's what disease is, something not functioning correctly. So what is disease? It's a lack of wholeness and function.
Yep.
If my heart's functioning 100%, I don't have heart disease. So disease is the lack of something. It's not the presence of health. So I saw my spine. So for me, my lower spine was really damaged. Had huge curvatures in it that I never felt. I didn't have back pain, but my first symptom was had this ulcerative colitis. Had pressure on the brainstem area from whatever. And I wish I could tell you in a week I was better. No, I was scared the whole time. In 7 months, my body was able to, just like a cut on your finger, was able to start. The blood started to slow down. My weight started to stabilize. I started gaining slight weight. Bowels recovery. So over a 7-month period of time, my body that has the potential to heal and be well was able to heal itself from an incurable terminal disease called ulcerative colitis. But when people ask me that story, like, let me tell you, I was scared the whole time. I was not a positive person. I didn't say good affirmations. But what proves to the point that our body is so amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what we believe. It's like gravity. If I'm on the top of a roof and I'm like, I don't believe in gravity and jump, gravity could care less about my belief system in it. And that was the amazing thing about the body. It was able to heal. And let me tell you, that was 20 years ago. And that moment, Ira, that process, that all the scariness of it, like that gave me now a purpose. And then that's when I went back to school to Parker in Dallas, got my chiropractic degree, because now I was able to talk about something. So I don't do anything I can't have a personal experience with in some way, shape, or form. So this way, when I speak, it's coming from my heart, not my mind. And now that I had that purpose, I went on to build we saw the average chiro clinic sees about 100 people a week. We saw 2,800 people a week. And it was all from one thing. I would share my story 3-5 times a week and just share my story. And if it connected with someone and gave them a little bit of hope, like your friend, it's like, you know what? I thought I tried everything. Well, maybe this might be the one thing. That was the blind spot or the missing key. And just had such a success in that. And until recently, the cloud moved a little bit where I wanted to make it even a bigger impact than just my community.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I had myself and my family had great experiences with chiropractic. I had, strangely enough, I'm probably not from looking at me, I was never a power lifter either, but I had a deadlifting experience, let's say an inappropriate deadlifting experience back in the 80s. And once again, you know, months and months of traditional care, high dose painkillers and all this stuff, nothing. I mean, the chiropractic fixed me up. It was just, it was such an eye-opening thing. And, you know, I was more familiar at the time sort of with, you know, just my lower spine. But, you know, could you talk just a little bit, and then we'll get into the regenerative medicine stuff a little bit, but a little bit about sort of this theme of, I forget what the whole term is, if it's called, is it called whole chiropractic? I forget what the two different schools of there's two different disciplines of chiropractic. If you could just reintroduce those, because I wasn't thinking chiropractic. I just wanted my pain to go away, and the pain went away. But there is obviously this whole connection. I think of chiropractic and this very important theme of form, of structure, of the proper structure, so that that nervous system can flow, so that the nervous system can let the blood flow. Also, talk a little about the different themes and the schools of thought in the chiropractic domain in 2022.
Right. So you nailed it. Structure, you know, function. Structure follows function, right? So there was two. I think there's probably more now. One would be straight chiropractic, which is like, listen, we remove the interference, your body does the rest. You know, I used to say, like, you know, what's it? You know, I move the bone, God does the rest. There's that very simple, like, listen, you know what? There's a science behind it that could definitely back it up. There are some blind spots that science can't prove or explain, but that doesn't mean it's not valid, right? So there's a mixture of philosophy, faith, and science, right? So, science, art, and philosophy. So there's that art and philosophy in there. Then the other one is what they call mixers, where they actually put other modalities in there. That could be like what you see, the TENS units, or the car, like, you know, other modalities. And I think, so the straight ones were just it was almost like religious about that, where I think there's like lasers, a lot of great technology out there that would be more mixed. So I said I had a straight philosophy, but I used as many modalities to get you well. I didn't care if you needed a laser or this, but I did still have the straight philosophy that the body was designed to heal itself. And that was a big thing. So I wasn't just treating a symptom. Let's look at the cause. Number one, let's find the cause of the problem, because there's no cause that goes causeless. Right. So, and I believe that what a miracle is, it's just something that we can't really explain, but there's actually real universal laws that stay. There's a very perfect reason for that. So whether I don't want to discard something as a miracle when there's an actual true law of explanation that goes behind that, even though we may, even spontaneous remission. It's like, I don't like, there's an actual, like, if we were to break it down, we hear about it, but there's some type of laws that had to be in effect. Right. So that was so it's the whole thing. Like, if I could take pressure off that spine, off that nervous system, the messages from the brain could flow to that organ at 100% or as close to it as possible. And then with the cell cycle and everything like that, you know, there's gestational period that body, those cells, because what people realize is that your body, you have a new body every couple of years, right? There's always cells that are dying off and new ones that are coming about. And I think we lose track of that, and they don't realize. So how come if I have liver disease for 15 or 20 years, that means my liver, how many new livers did I have through those 15 years? But but those cells are replicating diseased. So the whole thing is, if we could get proper function there, then those areas, those cells, when they will replicate healthier and healthier. And that's the body healing from the inside out. So it's a huge thing. So you take that, what I just explained, towards, man, my back hurts or my neck hurts or I get in a car accident. So sometimes when someone comes in with a pain, you know, I'm like, this is a great entryway to be like, did you know those nerve roots went to your thyroid? They went to your heart. They went to your lungs. They go to your colon. And it becomes like an overall, almost like a spinal hygiene for your nervous system health. That all of the factors, now how we eat, now how we exercise, these outside modalities can now take us to an even higher state of health.
Yeah, and I think that's so exciting, and simultaneously, because I mentioned in the intro, you've been moving now more, thinking about regenerative medicine modalities, and one of the things that I do in my biotech world. I spent several years working and discovering all the interesting things that some of these lower organisms do, like salamanders and so forth, which are so very good at regenerating stuff. And one of the things I like to point out, because a lot of people come at it with say from the stem cell angle that stem cells by themselves can do everything, and I point out, well, no, what makes, say, the salamander so good at healing its spinal cord or regenerating its limbs is this ability not just to take new cells and do stuff with them, but to have the proper form. Once again, going back to this issue, form, structure. Talk just a little bit about when you first got interested. Obviously, you said you used all different modalities, and that's great. I think that's the sort of the combinations are extremely important, and we can't just have single magic bullets anywhere. What got you first interested in regenerative medicine and sort of beginning to incorporate these themes into your clinics?
Wonderful. And I would like, after I do my, till I got in, I would love for the viewers to understand more, because the thing is, I think people think you put these cells in the body and these cells just kind of do. There's an innate there's an innate intelligence of the body
Yep.
that's instructing them to do. Like, how do they know to turn to cartilage versus how they know to turn into nervous tissue? So I would love to hear that, because I want people to understand that, like, it's not, because we got so used to taking a pill and thinking that this pill is intelligent, right?
Yep.
There's an intelligence of the body. There's a communication that has to happen. So remember, going back to Regen Med, I will not do anything in my life that I did not have a personal experience with.
Yep.
So my mom, she's 84 now. She's doing amazing. No drugs, no nothing like that. But she was having knee issues, horrible.
Yep.
And when you're elderly in the States, there's not much. They're like, listen, you probably need a knee replacement, but at your age, we don't want to put you under for that knee replacement. Two, you have pain management. We don't think it's a good idea at your age to be putting on opioids as well. So it gets to a point for someone in their elderly, they're kind of like stuck in a corner. And then I started hearing about, stem cells. I saw that Mel Gibson, thing that everybody sees, or saw him. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Heard about it, made sense. Of course, we started with 2 cells, right? But to the point of application, like, maybe this killed my mom. 9 months later, she's walking 3 miles a day. No drugs, no medication, no knee replacements. Right now, she's 84, 85. We probably need to do some more with her. She's because she's starting to get a little pain in there, but she tried everything. And so when I saw what happened to my mom, I'm like, great. And then in the States, we were able to do the Wharton's jelly, for certain things, and then different things because of marketing stuff. People like, that's the thing. You take something good, and if you're not able to truly educate in a way where it's clear, because people get mad at the FDA, but let's face it, they classify a drug as, like, if I say this iPhone, if I rub it on my cheek, it cures eczema. This is now considered a drug, right? So it's like, you got to explain it correctly. So plenty of chiropractic. What happens? They didn't regulate. It's not that they didn't regulate. I feel it's like the people who are delivering the stem cells, who could buy it from any lab, they didn't regulate the people who are doing it. So you have a bunch of people who market horribly, don't educate. They're in for the quick thing, and they ruined it, just like most Americans do sometimes. So then that's when we looked outside the country. So Cancun, Regeneration in Cancun, and beautiful Abu Dhabi now, which is amazing. So really good stuff. So that was the thing. So, but in the States, the time it was, we went full bore into that and had some amazing results in neuropathy, in joints, but then we were still limited. We couldn't do IV. There's a lot of things we couldn't do. A lot of the things that we're able to do now offshore. But wow! And then when you introduce the bioquantine, and that's explained that, because people. That's the thing I find out. We're all impatient, and they don't understand the biological. A biological organism has a gestational period. It's like a carrot takes 71 days. So if you look at it every day, like, stop it. Like, so the whole cell cycle, people understand there's time. There's time. Like, it's just not this overnight process when you understand that time. And would you help develop the fact that we could actually shorten the time and enhance it and bioactivate things at an even higher level? I always told Dr. Chris, so it's like that's to me Nobel Prize winning stuff, because now we're when it comes to nerve tissue, and I'm glad we segued into this, nerves control life. It brings all life and impulse. No nerve, no function, no life, right? So anytime a nerve degenerates or there's damage to a nerve or nervous system, it grows so slowly. It
Yep.
heals. People think, no, it heals. That's why Christopher Reeve was so into this, because he was like, listen, this is the way to help spinal cord injuries. It's the healing just outlives your life. But now
Mhm.
when you're able to find something where we could actually bioactivate that and enhance it to a degree, it's like, you know what, Ira? Like I am so grateful I'm living in a time where this is possible. I mean, it's
Yep.
like for the first time in since humans, like this is like some major stuff when you understand that brain cannot heal without that nerves and nervous tissue.
Yep.
And so that's where we're at. So yeah, so I got it because my mom did great, and we were able to see thousands of people get well through that. And I love teaching about something that makes so much sense, and it was very congruent with me because again, it was, the body wants to heal, but
Right.
sometimes as we age, it just doesn't have the fitness or the substrates to do the job. But it wants to do
Absolutely.
it. The brain wants to do it, but with an aging body, sick body, disease, deficiencies, it just doesn't have the substrates. But I know it would, and now we're able to provide the substrates and the environment, so to say, to function at a level to produce healing better than we were in our 20s. And I'm sure with help with you and everything, it'll just going to get better and better.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. And it's exciting hearing you talk about it because from a practitioner's perspective,
Yeah.
and this once again coming back, I think we've been trained, as you said, for the last 100 years that it's all about little pills and things like that. Right? These pills don't have a mind, and there's a whole process here. And I think what you're putting together with the integrated way of looking at it, and merging chiropractic, and merging health and wellness, emerging regenerative medicine. I think it's a really exciting time in 2022, and where we're going with all this. Um, I'd like to transition now, if we could, to the I Am Hero project, and if I
Yeah.
just may quote you from the website, if I may read from
Sure,
Dr.
sure.
Crisano for a minute.
Yeah.
I
Please.
believe that everybody is born with seeds of greatness and capable of heroic things if given the chance. That each person has the noble qualities inherent in them to drastically shift themselves and their work. I seek to unlock this in each man, woman, and child he reaches. Talk a little bit about, because I as when I think there's a hero inside me, it's tough always to let it out. But talk a little bit about the I Am Hero project, the Hero Rises methodology, and a little bit about what you're doing in this area.
Well, it says sometimes, the more educated and cerebral a person is, the tougher it is to go back to a childlike state. And I remember I looked at my kids. I have right now they're 15 and 9, but when I looked at a kid, it's like they possess these innate qualities that I realized that a lot of this, or me personally, I was paying a lot of money to go to Tony Robbins seminars, all this stuff, and I realized like I wasn't trying. I thought I tried to attain certain qualities and characteristics. Then I realized one day, holy, I'm trying to remember them. Because when you look at a kid, I don't know if you have kids, like I mean, my kids, they're
Yep.
loving, they're optimistic, they have amazing imagination. Einstein said imagination was the greatest mental faculty. They're visionaries. Like I go in their rooms, like this is a vision room. Like there's always a story. There's some type of imagination going on. They're playful. They're persistent. My kids still to this day. My 15-year-old he has closed me 100% of the time. He has 100% close rate on me. Like they are persistent. They live what I know. They don't live in they don't live in horizontal time. They live in vertical time because everything's about now.
Yeah.
When you want to do it now, like
Yeah.
they just know about now. They're very present. They're forgiving. They're loyal. They're loving. The number one question they ask is why, and they're not doing it to question authority. They're just trying to find their own truth. They're like, especially when they're 4, 5, 6, 7. It's very beautiful. Then when we get into the school system, then the programming happens. I call it teachers, preachers, dogmas, society. They start programming and actually forcing subordinated values. When I grow up, I need to look this way, do this way, drive this car, do this, get married. Like it's like we start living out other people's values, and we tend to let go or forget, you know, the canvas we wanted to create. And that's where I think a lot of the midlife crisis has come in. I found myself there in my mid 30s going, I checked off all the boxes, Ira. I had everything. I was depressed. I was like, why am I so depressed? I checked it all off. I was grateful, but what? And I realized I was grieving my potential. There was like I hit off all the boxes everybody else expected of me or society thought would be successful, but there was no party. It was like I threw this surprise party that no one showed up for, and I realized, wow, I totally did not. I built all this stuff and checked off the boxes, but yet I did not build the greatest relationship. Was actually courting a relationship with myself and really asking, what did Chris want? What was the purpose I was given to do on this planet? And I had to audit my life and realize that all these things that I looked for or my goals were driven by what other people would think.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to becoming childlike again and thinking like a child, imagination, vision, and just really almost like not worrying about the how, but what I want. And it's just kind of, and that's that inner hero, because I was wearing a secret identity. My identity was being in the doctor, right? So for me to get out is for me to move on past Dr. Chris meant me leaving my secure secret identity or what I was used to. And I felt that if I stepped out of that, I would lose my identity. So a lot of times we have our identity in what we did and not who we were created to be. So I have a 4-part methodology and just open up, because a lot of people, I believe that we do things. And I thought, man, I have a great car, great wellness. I'm going to do this the rest of my life. But I realized that, every so often, 7 to 10 years, people are like, I'm ready to evolve, because we're evolving. We want to expand. And so what do you do then when your whole life was based in identity? It keeps you from evolving. So that 4-step methodology is enough. I think I'm there to be your guide in this hero's journey. So in the hero's journey, there's stuff you got to go through, but on the this end of that hero's journey, you have guides and mentors along the way just to kind of encourage you, get you there. But ultimately, you have to make that leap. So I think this provides as I provide to be like a guide or mentor along the way, and enough for you to make the leap. But once you make the leap, you make the leap, and then all the unknowns change it. But that's sort of, so the 4-step methodology was you embrace the hero mindset, like we talk about. It's about becoming childlike again. You maximize your superpowers. We all have things that we're good at and we take for granted, like some of the gifts and talents you have that come easy to you or easier to you. Someone else would love to know about that, or it's very
Mhm.
difficult for them. So it's extracting, hey, what do people come to talk to me about? Like if I was to work for free, what would I do? So you start these little exercises to bring out, this is my gifts and talents that I love. A third is we want to choose our vehicle of influence. So for you, Ari, your vehicle of influence, podcasting, could be speaking one-to-one, one-to-many. Some people are great writers. They do great blogs and authors. Some people are great on voice. You can listen. They love doing voice and audio. And
Yep.
you find that vehicle of influence, because that's how you get your message out to the world. And the fourth phase is now you want to monetize. You want to monetize you want to monetize your mission for the survival of your legacy. So now we have valuable information. How do we take what we love to do, what we're created to do, what is very congruent with what we do, that we have purpose, and then how do we monetize it? Because that's another issue. I would love to paint, but I would do it for free. I would love to talk regen medicine to everybody, but like you love it so much, you would do it for free. And no, you got to have an exchange of value. So we want to teach people on how you could do what you love. And I know you would do it for free, and I know you could talk about it all day long, but wouldn't it be great to do what you love to do and actually get paid? A great exchange in value for what and all the experience you have. And so we lead them through that, and then I hook them up with what we call the League of Extraordinary Superheroes, where whatever it is in their life, there's fears and fogs, meaning that to make the leap, it's like, well, I just don't know how to do all the internet stuff. I don't know how to do all the Facebook marketing. Well, so we hook them up with someone that's their purpose and passion. So everybody's fears and fogs, obviously there's someone else who's an expert in that area, and you hire them. So when we can hire the experts to take away your fears and fogs, there's really nothing left in the way except you in accomplishing your dreams. So it's I went through it myself personally. It was really like the journey of where I got here now. And I realized I just had to wake up to remember, because my whole midlife crisis was not a midlife crisis. It was I was grieving my potential. I know there was more. I know I could make a bigger impact, but I was so comfortable that I was grieving if I didn't make the step and do it. So I had to help people get through that grieving to doing what they love to do.
Awesome. Awesome. And really great
Yeah,
messages and
yeah,
all
yeah.
that.
Unpack that as much as you want.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and it's just it's fascinating hearing you talk about it. And I mean, all your whole story, Chris, is so impressive. So what else is going on for 2022? Anything for 2023? Places we can see you, meet you? Any conferences you're going to be at? I know you travel around to high schools and other venues talking to a bunch of people. any other things that you want to mention that you're going to be where we can either watch or meet Dr. Chris Zaino, please take the floor.
I think Instagram's the best. You just at Dr. Zaino, at DRZAINO.
Mm-hmm.
I answer everything. I don't have, I don't have people monitoring my stuff. That's me. So that's the easy way to get to me. That's the easy way. It's short. It's quick. I like Instagram. It's a distraction. I get it, but it's short. I mute people, so I could just stick to what we need. And I'm in and out. But you could definitely see that's where I give a lot of value. Everything I put out there, it's to make your life 1% better. Because I know that the greatest commodity we have is our time. When I trade time with someone, I'm never getting that back. So if you scroll across my stuff, I know that 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 60 seconds will be a return on investment for you. So I really appreciate people's time that anytime they look. So I make sure it's worth your while. Yes, speaking is the big thing, and really going full speed on regenerative medicine. And I just see the company becoming the best in the world. I have gold cards. I write it down, and I wrote it on there. It was funny. I used to joke around, just say like, I take care of sheiks, right? And just as a joke, like not even a joke, no,
Right.
but it was like it felt sexy.
Yep.
And sure enough, it's there. We take care of sheiks and kings now. So I just see that because I want to be Sylvester Stallone when I'm 76. That's my inspiration of it all. It's like, why do I love regenerative medicine? Because I see a human being. He's 76 years old. And look at Arnold and all these other guys. They're not acting like him. He took care of his body. He maxed it with all the stuff that we do. And I realize when your body is functioning optimally, watch this, your mind expands. The
Yep.
bandwidth is incredible. So a lot of time people ask me, well, how do I add another zero? And I'm like, listen, we got to go through your body. Well, no, I don't get it. I'm like, how can you be so good in one area of your life? You do so good in business. You're making hundreds of millions of dollars, but your body is garbage. Like, what? I don't understand. And they're looking for the next technique. I'm like, once you get this body to function correctly and realize you'll be acting at a higher vibration, your mind will expand. Because when you feel good, boom,
Yep.
you're focused, you're on your A game. I'm like, then you'll be able to access all the problems and the problem solution ideas, new ventures that you need to take your company up. And every time when we actually work with the body first, that's the missing link that they needed. They didn't need another mindset technique. They just needed to get their body function correctly. And it's amazing. So when I look at like a Sylvester Stallone, he acts, he paints, he's how difficult it is to do a movie. You're up late nights. He's doing like 4 years. He's writing them, he's directing them.
Yep.
Again, he takes care. He's a good children. Like his bandwidth is huge because his body is functioning at a level. So you want to increase mental potential, you have to do it through the body.
Yep.
Right? It's not another book. That's knowledge, but to actually be like, I can actually tap into creativity. And it's at 76. That's what I want, Ira. And that's why, again, I'm only going to I'm doing it because I live it. And then hopefully you guys see that I am the avatar of it, because
Absolutely.
I don't want to, like, if I'm going to walk in a room, I don't want to be someone to be like, listen, you say one thing and you're doing another. It's totally incongruent. Right. So I want to be an unspoken sermon, right? Nonverbal sermon, nonverbal, credentials, then to be able to help people live that life. At 45 now, I'm way better than I was at 35. Tremendous. It's incredible. I mean, Ira, thanks to you and everybody, like, I got my shoulder back. And that was very, I hurt my shoulder and I can't work out. I'm depressed. I mean, my body goes down. My L5-S1 disc, amazing again. I was getting atrophy on one side of my leg, all that muscle is bad. Like, it's so incredible. And I do the IVs, probably every 6 months. Even people will be, but even like the gray pigments started to heal. Not saying that's going to happen with everybody, but I've seen such an effect now about 3 years into regenerative medicine for myself. I'm so excited. That's why I get excited about this stuff. I'm sweating now talking about it because it's something I'm increasingly passionate about, because health is your greatest asset you'll ever have in your life. This is the one body we have. And it drives me crazy when people they'll get a mortgage on a house, they'll borrow money for all this other stuff, but when it comes to their body, it's the thing they put at the back burner. So when we could flip that narrative around and you invest into that body, then I promise you everything you needed for all the other things in your area of your life will be there, and you'll be able to enjoy it as well.
Awesome messages. Awesome messages. Really great stuff, Chris. I mean, it's been an amazing story. Obviously, wishing you the best, and obviously I'll be following you, and everyone else that's listening and watching this show should as well. For everybody that is going to be listening to this episode across the podcast networks or watching on the YouTube channel, again, you've been listening to Dr. Chris Zaino, world-renowned speaker, author, entrepreneur, bodybuilder, doing really amazing things at the intersection of health, wellness, regenerative medicine, sports, awakening the hero in all of us. Chris, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your really busy schedule to talk to us for a little while. Obviously, thanks for everything you've been doing. And as we like to say on our show, thanks for helping to create a better tomorrow for so many people via what you're doing. Really great story.
Oh, and I'm so appreciative of you, Doc. You have no idea. So I appreciate you as well and everybody watching. Thank you so much.
Good seeing you.